Welcome back. The new book, This Will Not Pass, by New York Times reporters Jonathan Martin and Alexander Burns, has already received a lot of attention because of House Republican leader Kevin McCarthy's comments about President Trump and some fellow Republicans. But Martin and Burns also write that in the past 2 years, we've seen a battle for the survival of our democracy that has erupted. They write, the two parties were not merely adversaries, but enemies in a domestic Cold War that had started to run hot. And one of those two parties was in thrall to an authoritarian demagogue who chose to attack the Congress rather than gracefully relinquish power. Well, Jonathan Martin and Alexander Burns join me now. Gentlemen, first of all, congratulations.
Thank you.
Heck of a book. It ate up my Saturday, that's for sure. Let me start with, obviously, what we've seen on January 6th. And I want to start with a Lindsey Graham moment, because I believe, Jonathan, you were in the room for this. You happened to be, for the book, with the senators when they got quarantined on January 6th.
Yeah.
So you were witness, essentially, to all these senators not happy with the situation went on. And you talk about the 25th Amendment and Lindsey Graham. Walk me through what happened.
Sure. So we were evacuated from the U.S. Senate through the tunnels of the Capitol complex to one of the Senate office buildings, Chuck. And there was uncertainty bordering on panic. You have members of the U.S. Senate who are largely over the age of 50, in some cases 60, walking briskly or even running to this holding room. We were put in the holding room in one of the Senate office buildings for hours and hours and hours. And obviously tensions there are rising because people don't know what's going on.
Right.
They're seeing images on their phone, their spouses are calling them or texting them, and there's great uncertainty. And in these hours, the Republican Party is grappling with its future. What does this mean for our party, for our outgoing president? And is it so severe that we have to drive him from office before he is set to leave on January 20th? And Lindsey Graham is extremely angry. He's almost shouting down the Capitol Police as they try to address the U.S. senators, demanding that they take action and forcefully recapture the Capitol. And in the same moment, he gets on the phone and he telephones the White House counsel, Pat Cipollone.
You're hearing all of this. First-hand account here. This is not from sources.
I'm in the room. And he calls Pat Cipollone and says, if Trump doesn't tell these people to go home, meaning the rioters in the Capitol, we're going to call for the 25th Amendment. And so Trump does a second and third take of that video.
Right. Essentially, he's responding to this panic.
Yes.
Alexander Burns, I want to, the Mitch McConnell, Liz Cheney exchanges that you have in the book are so telling about Mitch McConnell. Here's one excerpt. McConnell found the whole Liz Cheney saga confusing. In his mind, she was committing a cardinal sin, relinquishing power. Why, he wondered aloud, would Cheney willingly jeopardize her leadership post by continually condemning Trump? Just ignore him like I do, he said. It's quite telling about McConnell.
It certainly is. And it's quite telling about Liz Cheney, too. The two of them have a conversation at one point last year where she basically tells him that is just not going to work. You can't just sort of avert your gaze from Donald Trump. If you're going to take on Donald Trump, if you're going to get rid of Donald Trump, you have to take on Donald Trump and get rid of Donald Trump. And McConnell's response at that point was basically, I don't need any more lectures from you on how to deal with Trump. The big McConnell bet that we outline in the book, it's a central part of the narrative, is that after January 6th, he sees Trump, like many people, like many Democrats and like more Republicans than will say so in public, he sees Trump as a threat to American democracy and a threat to the Republican Party. But once that immediate moment of most dire peril passes, he decides that the way he's going to try to deal with Trump is to ignore him and trust that the president will, as McConnell has said to a number of people, lose altitude over time just because people will kind of move on and look to the future. And, you know, from where we stand today, that doesn't look like a wager that has particularly panned out.
All right, we spent a lot of time on the right side of the aisle. Let's go to the left side of the aisle and the Biden agenda. You outline all the back and forth on Build Back Better. In some of your report, in the summary of all your reporting, Jonathan, who would you say, who's to blame for the death of Build Back Better?
In our government, the president is not only the head of state and commander-in-chief, he's the leader of his or her party. Joe Biden is the leader of the Democratic Party. It has been on him to corral the narrowest of congressional majorities. He did so, obviously, in the opening months of his presidency, passing the American Rescue Plan, passing this sweeping bill for infrastructure. But he could not find the votes to get this bill passed.
Was there a deal to be done?
Well, Joe Manchin effectively killed the bill, or at least put the bill on hold in mid-December, Chuck.
Right.
It's now May 1st, okay?
Yeah.
Where has Biden been since then? This is what Democrats in Congress are asking is, what's the plan, what's the strategy? And there effectively is no game plan. And there is no confidence in the White House that they can get Manchin to any kind of a yes, and the clock is ticking.
Alex, you also note in the book that seems to be a more serious effort to get Joe Manchin to switch parties. Yeah. Here's your excerpt from page 273. You don't have to join our caucus, John Thune told Manchin. Just become an independent and then caucus with us. Johnny said, if you were the leader, I would do it. It was not exactly a hard no. How would you describe this effort? Is it ongoing? Is it real? Or is it a little bit of a salon dinner conversation?
Look, I think the Republican Party has made it very clear to Joe Manchin that offer is on the table anytime he wants to take it up and on basically any terms that he wants to take it up.
And it was a real effort.
It was a real effort. And that comes right after that moment, right after Joe Biden and Kamala Harris take office, where the vice president goes on television in West Virginia in what Joe Manchin takes as a not particularly subtle effort to twist his arm on the American Rescue Plan. He's upset about that. His Republican friends like Susan Collins and John Thune know he's upset about it. They take him to dinner and say exactly what you just outlined. Manchin makes it pretty clear to him that that's not something he's interested in. Yeah. But this sort of casts a shadow over all the Democratic interactions with Manchin over the last year and even today, is the sense that this guy has other options. It would be much easier for him politically in his home state if he didn't have the D next to his name.
All right. The final topic I'm going to hit with you guys. There's so much to get to. But you brought up the vice president, Alex. Kamala Harris felt disrespected. Here's one anecdote you have. Harris worried that Biden's staff looked down on her. She fixated on real and perceived snubs in ways the West Wing found tedious. When Harris walked into a room, the White House staff did not stand up the way they did for Biden. The vice president took it as a sign of disrespect. What was astonishing here is that apparently there was a meeting about this.
Yes, the chief of staff to Kamala Harris telephoned the West Wing and told a senior advisor in the West Wing to Biden, the VP has noticed this, and she would like folks to stand, staff members to stand when she enters the room. This pulls back the curtain on what this White House is really like. The tensions are deep and they are real between the VP's office and the West Wing. Obviously, the public image is what it is, but this is an ongoing challenge. And what is hovering over all of this, Chuck, is 24.
So clear.
Is Biden going to run again? And if not, is it going to be VP Harris? That is the mood music hanging over the entire Democratic Party right now, as are Biden's poor numbers. And we have a story that's going to be today on the New York Times website that is for the first time going to reveal a number of memos and polling and decks that show the course of Biden's decline over 2021. And they're urgent warnings that his pollster offered the White House to stop that decline.
Alex, what's remarkable about it is that the White House isn't blind to this, so they haven't reacted.
That's right. And, I think one of the prevailing narratives about the White House is that they didn't see inflation coming. They didn't see it coming, that immigration was going to be this persistent political headache. What we reveal in the book is that the president's own chief pollster was warning as early as April of 2021. The president's barely taken office at that point, and his pollster's already warning him, you've got to take this stuff seriously. And they just didn't.
It's a deeply reported book. It is not anything like far left, far right. It is just good old-fashioned reporting. Kudos, guys.
Thank you.
What a read.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.